It was the first day of September. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. Birds were singing in the trees. Students were walking through the gates of Riverside High School. Among these students was a boy named David. David was 17 years old. He had brown hair and kind eyes. He was wearing a blue shirt and jeans. David was nervous because this was his first day at the school. His family had moved to this town just 2 weeks ago. David walked slowly through the hallway. He looked at the room numbers. Room 205, room 206, room 207. He counted quietly. He was looking for room 2010. That was his new classroom. Other students were talking and laughing with their friends. They all seemed to know each other. David felt alone. He missed his old school. He missed his old friends. Finally, David found room 10. He took a deep breath and opened the door. The classroom was large and bright. There were about 20 students already sitting at their desks. They all turned to look at David. "Good morning," said a voice. It was a teacher, Mrs. Johnson. She was a kind-looking woman with gray hair and glasses. "You must be David, our new student. Welcome to Riverside High School." "Thank you," David said quietly. "Please take any empty seat," Mrs. Johnson said with a smile. David looked around the room. There were a few empty desks. He walked to one near the window and sat down. He put his bag on the floor and took out his notebook and pen. The morning passed slowly. David listened to the teachers, but he didn't talk to anyone. At lunchtime, he sat alone in the cafeteria. He ate his sandwich and watched the other students. Everyone seemed happy. Everyone had friends to talk to. After lunch, David had one more class. It was English literature. He loved reading, so he was looking forward to this class. The English classroom was on the 3rd floor. David climbed the stairs and found the room. This classroom was different. It was smaller and cozier. There were bookshelves filled with books along the walls. There were posters of famous writers on the walls. The desks were arranged in a circle, not in rows. David was early. Only a few students were there. He chose a desk and sat down. He looked at the books on the shelves. So many interesting titles. Then the door opened and a girl walked in. David looked up and his heart skipped a beat. The girl had long black hair that fell over her shoulders. She had beautiful brown eyes and a gentle smile. She was wearing a white dress with small flowers on it. She carried a stack of books in her arms. The girl walked to the bookshelf and began putting the books back in their places. She seemed to know exactly where each book belonged. She hummed a soft tune as she worked. David couldn't stop looking at her. He had never seen anyone so beautiful. Suddenly, the girl turned around. Her eyes met David's eyes. David felt his face turn red. He quickly looked down at his desk. "Hi," said the girl. Her voice was soft and friendly. "Are you new here? I haven't seen you before." David looked up again. The girl was smiling at him. "Yes," he managed to say. "Today is my first day. My name is David." "I'm Emma," the girl said. "Welcome to Riverside High School. How do you like it so far?" "It's okay. Everything's new. I don't know anyone yet." "That must be difficult," Emma said kindly. "Where did you move from?" "From Greenfield. It's a small town about 2 hours from here," David explained. "I know Greenfield. It's a nice place. Why did you move?" "My father got a new job here," he said. He was starting to feel more comfortable talking to Emma. She was easy to talk to. More students began coming into the classroom. Emma sat down at the desk next to David. "This is my favorite class," she said. "Mr. Peterson is a wonderful teacher. He really loves literature." "I love reading too," David said. "What's your favorite book?" Emma's eyes lit up. "That's a hard question. I have so many favorites. But if I have to choose one, I would say Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Have you read it?" "Not yet," David said, "but I've heard it's very good." "It's amazing," Emma exclaimed enthusiastically. "It's about love, but also about understanding people and not judging them too quickly. I've read it 3 times. Before David could reply, the teacher walked in. Mr. Peterson was a tall man with a friendly face. He had a beard and wore a brown jacket. "Good afternoon, everyone," Mr. Peterson said. "I hope you all had a good summer. Welcome back to school, and I see we have a new student today. Would you like to introduce yourself?" David stood up. His hands were shaking a little. "My name is David. I just moved here from Greenfield. I'm happy to be here." "Welcome, David," Mr. Peterson said warmly. "I hope you enjoy literature." "I do," David said, and sat down. The class began. Mr. Peterson talked about the books they would read. He talked about Shakespeare, about Dickens, about modern writers. David listened carefully and took notes. Next to him, Emma was also taking notes. Sometimes their eyes met and Emma would smile. When the class ended, it was time to go home. Students began packing their bags and leaving the classroom. David put his notebook in his bag slowly. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to talk more with Emma. "David," Emma said, "would you like me to show you around the school? Since you're new, you might not know where everything is." David's heart jumped with happiness. "Yes, thank you. That would be very helpful." Emma smiled. "Great. Let me show you the library first. It's the best place in the whole school." They walked together down the hallway. Emma pointed out different rooms. "That's the science lab, that's the music room, that's the art studio." Then they went down another hallway and stopped in front of a large wooden door. "This is the library," Emma said, and opened the door. David stepped inside and gasped. The library was beautiful. It was a large room with high ceilings. There were tall bookshelves filled with thousands of books. There were comfortable chairs and tables where students could sit and read. Sunlight came through the big windows, making everything look warm and peaceful. "Wow," David said. "This is amazing." "I know," Emma said happily. "I come here every day after school. I love reading, and I love being surrounded by books." "Do you want to see my favorite spot?" "Yes, please," David said. Emma led him to a corner of the library. There was a small area with 2 comfortable chairs, a small table, and a lamp. The chairs were next to a window that looked out onto the garden. It was quiet and peaceful. "This is my spot," Emma said softly. "I discovered it last year. Not many people know about it. I come here to read and think." "It's perfect," David said, looking around. "Thank you for showing me." "You're welcome," Emma said. "It's nice to have someone to share it with." They stood there for a moment, looking out as the window at the garden. Birds were flying between the trees. The flowers were blooming in beautiful colors. "I should go home now," Emma said. "My mother will be waiting for me, but I'll see you tomorrow in class, right?" "Yes, definitely. Thank you for everything, Emma. You made my first day much better." Emma smiled her gentle smile. "I'm glad. See you tomorrow, David." She walked away, her footsteps soft on the library floor. David watched her go, then he slowly walked out of the library. As he walked home, he couldn't stop thinking about Emma, her smile, her voice, her love for books. For the first time since moving to this new town, David felt happy. The next morning, David woke up early. He was excited to go to school. He got dressed quickly, ate breakfast, and walked to school with a smile on his face. When he arrived at school, he looked for Emma. He didn't see her in the hallway. He went to his first class, but he couldn't concentrate. He kept thinking about the library corner, about the books, about Emma. Finally, it was time for English literature class. David climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. His heart was beating fast. He opened the classroom door and looked inside. Emma was already there, sitting at the same desk as yesterday. When she saw David, she smiled and waved. David felt relief wash over him. He walked over and sat down next to her. "Good morning," Emma said. "How are you today?" "Good morning," David said. "I'm good. How are you?" "I'm very well," Emma said. "I was thinking about you last night." David's heart jumped. "Really? Why?" "I thought about what book I should recommend to you," Emma said, pulling a book from her bag. "I brought this for you. It's one of my favorites. I think you'll like it." She handed David a book. The title was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Thank you, David said, taking the book carefully. I've wanted to read this for a long time. It's beautiful, Emma said. It's about dreams and love and the past. It's sad, but also wonderful. Mr. Peterson walked in and the class began. Today, they were discussing poetry. Mr. Peterson read several poems aloud and then asked students to talk about what they meant. Emma raised her hand and shared her thoughts. She spoke beautifully about the emotions in the poems, about the images the words created. David listened to her voice and felt something growing in his heart. After class, Emma asked, "Do you want to go to the library? We could read together." "I'd love to," David said immediately. They walked to the library together. The librarian, Mrs. Chen, smiled when she saw Emma. "Hello, Emma. I see you brought a friend today." "This is David," Emma said. "He's new at school." "David, this is Mrs. Chen. She knows everything about every book in this library." "Welcome, David," Mrs. Chen said warmly. "Any friend of Emma's is welcome here." Emma and David went to the corner by the window. They sat in the two comfortable chairs. Emma took out her current book, and David opened The Great Gatsby. They read in peaceful silence. Outside the window, leaves were falling from the trees. Inside, the library was warm and quiet. Sometimes David would look up from his book and glance at Emma. She looked so peaceful when she was reading, completely lost in her book. After an hour, Emma closed her book and stretched. "I need a break. How are you enjoying Gatsby?" "It's incredible. Thank you for lending it to me." "I'm glad you like it. Do you want to get something to drink? There's a cafe near the school." "Sure." They walked to the library. They packed their books and left the library. They walked to a small cafe on the corner. It was a cozy place with small tables and the smell of fresh coffee in the air. Emma ordered tea and David ordered coffee. They sat at a table by the window. "Tell me about Greenfield," Emma asked. "What was it like living there?" David thought for a moment. It was quiet. Everyone knew everyone. There was a river where I liked to go fishing with my father. There were hills where I would go walking. It was home. "Do you miss it?" Emma asked gently. "Yes," I admitted. "I miss my old friends. I miss the places I knew. But," he looked at Emma, "I'm starting to like it here too." Emma smiled. "I'm glad. This town is nice once you get to know it. There's a beautiful park by the river, there are good bookstores, and the people are friendly." "You've been very friendly," David said. "I was so nervous on my first day, but you made everything better." Emma's cheeks turned a little pink. "That's kind of you to say. I remember how I felt when I was new. It was hard. I just wanted to help." "Were you new here once?" David asked, surprised. "Yes," Emma said. "My family moved here when I was 14. That was 3 years ago. I felt so alone at first, but then I found the library and I found books, and slowly I made friends." "I'm glad you understand," David said. They talked for a long time. They talked about books they loved, about movies they had seen, about music they liked. They talked about their families, their dreams, their fears. The conversation flowed easily, like a gentle river. When they finally looked at the time, they were surprised. 2 hours had passed. "I really need to go home now," Emma said. "But this was wonderful. Can we do it again tomorrow?" "I'd love that very much," David said. They walked out of the cafe together. At the corner, they had to go in different directions. "See you tomorrow," Emma said. "See you tomorrow," David replied. He watched her walk away, then turned and walked home. His mind was full of thoughts of Emma, her smile, her laugh, the way she talked about books with such passion. David was falling in love, and he knew it. Days turned into weeks. September became October. The leaves on the trees turned red and gold. The air became cooler. And every day, David and Emma grew closer. They met every day in English literature class. They sat together, shared notes, discussed the books they were reading. After class, they would go to the library corner and read together. Sometimes they would read silently, sometimes they would read passages aloud to each other. They also started meeting before school. David would arrive early and Emma would be waiting for him at the school gate. They would walk together to the library and talk until classes started. Emma showed David all her favorite places in town. They went to the park by the river and walked along the water. They went to the old bookstore on Main Street and spent hours looking at books. They went to the museum and looked at paintings. Everywhere they went, they talked. They never ran out of things to say. Every conversation led to another topic, another story, another shared moment. David's parents noticed a change in him. He was happier. He smiled more. He talked about school with enthusiasm. "You seem to like your new school," his mother said one evening at dinner. "I do," David said. "I've made a good friend." "That's wonderful," his mother said. "What's your friend's name?" "Emma," David said, and he couldn't help but smile when he said her name. His mother and father exchanged a knowing look, but they didn't say anything more. At school, other students began to notice David and Emma together. They always sat together, walked together, talked together. Some students were curious. Some were jealous. But Emma didn't care what others thought, and neither did David. One October afternoon, Emma had a surprise for David. "Close your eyes," she said as they walked out of the school. "Why?" David asked, laughing. "Just trust me. Close your eyes." David closed his eyes. Emma took his hand. Her hand was soft and warm. David felt electricity run through his body. "Okay, walk carefully," Emma said, guiding him. "We're going down the steps. Now we're walking on the path, just a little further." David could feel the sun on his face. He could hear birds singing. He could smell flowers. "Okay, stop," Emma said. "Now open your eyes." David opened his eyes. They were standing in a part of the school garden he had never seen before. It was a small hidden area surrounded by tall bushes. In the center was a beautiful old tree with golden leaves. Under the tree was a wooden bench. "I found this place last year," Emma said softly. "It's my secret place. I come here when I need to think or when I need to be alone. I've never shown it to anyone before, but I wanted to share it with you." David looked around. It was beautiful and peaceful. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for sharing this with me." They sat on the bench under the tree. Golden leaves fell gently around them. They sat close to each other, their shoulders almost touching. "David," Emma said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," David said. "Are you happy here, in this town, at this school?" David thought about the question. A few weeks ago, his answer would have been no. But now, "Yes, I'm happy, because of you." Emma looked at him. Her brown eyes were shining. "I'm happy, too, because of you." They sat in silence for a while, just being together. The world around them seemed to fade away. There was only the tree, the bench, the falling leaves, and each other. "I should tell you something," Emma said. I really like spending time with you. These past weeks have been the happiest I've been in a long time." "Me too," David said. His heart was beating fast. "Emma, I think about you all the time. When I wake up, I'm excited because I know I'll see you. When I go home, I miss you already. You're special to me." Emma took David's hand in hers. "You're special to me too, David." They looked at each other. David wanted to say more. He wanted to tell Emma that he loved her, but he was afraid. What if it was too soon? What if she didn't feel the same way? But he didn't need to say it. Emma understood. She could see it in his eyes, just as he could see it in hers. As the sun began to set, they walked home together. At the corner where they usually said goodbye, David gathered his courage. "Emma," he said, "would you like to go to the movies with me this Saturday? Not as friends, as more than friends?" Emma smiled her beautiful smile. "I'd love to, David. I'd really love to." David felt like he could fly. "Really?" "Really," Emma said. She stood on her toes and kissed David softly on the cheek. Then she quickly walked away, looking back once to wave. David stood there, touching his cheek where Emma had kissed him. He was the happiest he had ever been in his life. Saturday came. David woke up early, even though the movie wasn't until the afternoon. He was too excited to sleep. He took a long shower, changed his clothes 3 times, and made sure his hair looked perfect. His mother smiled at him. "You're very nervous." "I just want everything to be perfect," David said. "Just be yourself," his mother advised. "That's who she likes." David met Emma at the movie theater at 2 o'clock. When he saw her, his breath caught. She was wearing a pretty blue dress and had her hair down. She looked beautiful. "Hi," Emma said, a little shy. "Hi," David said. You look really beautiful." "Thank you," Emma said, blushing. "You look nice too." They bought tickets for a romantic movie and got popcorn to share. In the dark theater, sitting next to each other, David nervously reached for Emma's hand. She immediately held his hand back, intertwining her fingers with his. The movie was good, but David couldn't concentrate on it. All he could think about was Emma sitting next to him, her hand in his, her shoulder touching his. After the movie, they walked to the park. The autumn air was cool but pleasant. The trees were full of colored leaves. They walked slowly along the path by the river. "I really enjoyed today," Emma said. "Me too," David said. "I've been looking forward to it all week." They found a bench overlooking the river and sat down. The water flowed peacefully. Ducks were swimming near the shore. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. "David," Emma said, "I want to tell you something. These past weeks, getting to know you, spending time with you, it's been wonderful. I feel like I can be completely myself with you. I don't have to pretend or hide anything. You understand me." "I feel the same way," David said. "With you, I feel complete, like I was looking for something and I found it. I found you." "I think," Emma paused and then looked directly into David's eyes. "I think I'm falling in love with you." David's heart filled with joy. "I'm falling in love with you too, Emma. I think I have been since the first day I saw you." Emma smiled, and tears of happiness filled her eyes. "Really?" "Really," David said. "When I saw you in that classroom, putting books on the shelf, I couldn't look away, and every day since then, my feelings have grown stronger." David gently touched Emma's face. "Can I kiss you?" he asked softly. "Yes," Emma whispered. David leaned in and kissed Emma gently. It was soft and sweet and perfect. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. "That was my first kiss," Emma said quietly. "Mine too," David said, "and it was perfect." They sat together on the bench, Emma's head on David's shoulder, his arm around her. They watched the sun set over the river, painting everything in golden light. "I wish this moment could last forever," Emma said. "Me too," David said. "We'll have many more moments like this. We have time." They stayed until the stars began to appear in the sky. Then David walked Emma home. At her door, they kissed again, longer this time. "See you Monday," Emma said. "See you Monday," David said. "I love you, Emma." "I love you too, David." David walked home feeling like the luckiest person in the world. He had moved to a new town, started at a new school, and found love. True love. Months passed. October became November, then December. David and Emma's love grew stronger every day. They spent every moment they could together. They studied together at the library. They had lunch together at school. They walked home together every afternoon. On weekends, they explored the town, went to movies, visited museums, or just sat in the park talking for hours. David met Emma's parents, and they liked him immediately. Emma met David's parents, and they welcomed her warmly. Everyone could see how happy David and Emma made each other. At school, they were known as the couple who loved books. Their friends joked that they lived in a library, but David and Emma didn't mind. The library corner was their special place, where they had spent so many happy hours together. In English literature class, they were Mr. Peterson's best students. They discussed books passionately, challenged each other's ideas, and learned from each other. Mr. Peterson smiled every time he saw them together. Winter came. Snow fell on the town, covering everything in white. David and Emma walked through the snow, holding hands, their breath visible in the cold air. They built a snowman in the park. They had snowball fights, laughing like children. For Christmas, David gave Emma a beautiful book. It was a rare edition of Pride and Prejudice, her favorite. Inside the cover, he wrote, "To Emma, who taught me about love. Forever yours, David." Emma gave David a journal with a leather cover. Inside, she had written on the first page, "For all our stories, past and future, I love you, Emma." They spent New Year's Eve together at the town festival. When midnight came and fireworks lit up the sky, they kissed under the stars. "This has been the best year of my life," David said. "Mine too," Emma said. "And next year will be even better because we'll be together." The new year brought changes. It was their final year at high school. Soon they would have to think about university, the future. One spring afternoon, they were sitting in their library corner. Cherry blossoms were blooming outside the window, filling the air with sweet fragrance. "Have you thought about university?" Emma asked. "Yes," David said. "I want to study literature, maybe become a teacher like Mr. Peterson. What about you?" "I want to study literature too, maybe become a writer. I've always dreamed of writing books." "You would write beautiful books," David said. "But Emma, there is something I need to ask you." "What is it?" Emma asked. David took her hand. "Whatever happens, wherever we go for university, I want us to stay together. I can't imagine my life without you." Emma smiled. "I feel the same way. We'll find a way, David. Love always finds a way." They applied to the same universities. They studied together for exams. They supported each other through stress and worry. In the spring, the acceptance letters came. Both David and Emma got accepted to their first choice, a university in the city known for its excellent literature program. "We did it," Emma said, jumping into David's arms. "We're going to the same university." "I knew we would," David said, spinning her around. "We're going to have an amazing future together." On the last day of high school, David and Emma walked through the empty hallways one more time. They visited all their special places, the English literature classroom, the library corner, the secret garden. "I'll miss this place," Emma said. "So much happened here. We met here. We fell in love here. But we're taking the best part with us, each other." They stood in a library corner looking out the window at the school grounds. "Do you remember the first day we met?" Emma asked. "Of course," David said. "I walked into the English classroom and I saw you putting books on the shelf. I thought you were the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. I was nervous when I talked to you, but you seemed kind and lonely. I wanted to be your friend. You became so much more than a friend. You became my everything." Emma turned to David. "Promise me something." "Anything," David said. "Promise me that no matter what, we'll always have this. Our love for each other, our love for books, our love for beautiful moments. Promise me we'll never forget?" "I promise," David said seriously. "I will love you forever, Emma, from the moment I met you until my last breath. You're my heart, my home, my everything." They kissed, surrounded by books, in the place where their story began. Years later, David and Emma would often tell their story to their children and grandchildren. They would talk about the nervous boy who moved to a new town, the kind girl who showed him the library, and the love that grew between them. They would remember the library corner, the secret garden, the park by the river. They would remember their first conversation, their first kiss, their first "I love you." David became a literature teacher, inspiring students just like Mr. Peterson had inspired him. Emma became a successful writer, writing beautiful love stories. They lived in a house full of books filled with love and laughter. And every year, on the anniversary of their first meeting, they would visit their old high school. They would go to the library corners, sit in the comfortable chairs by the window, and read together just like they did when they first fell in love. Because some love stories never end. They just keep growing, deeper and stronger, with every passing day. And this is one of those stories.